Ever since I bought this Jeep, it has been loud. But it's never been a priority of mine to fix it because honestly, I've kind of liked it. However, the time has come. We need to change out the exhaust from the catback and a new intake on this little XJ. In my last video, during my trip to Moab, I broke the intake on the Jeep while I was on Poison Spider. We had to do a little trail fix while we were there, and it got me home and it got me through the rest of the trails, but it wasn't enough. So the second I got home, I ordered a brand new rough country intake because it was cheaper than stock, a full exhaust system, and some Brown Dog motor mounts. So let's go ahead and get started with installing them, first with the exhaust. The previous owner told me that the exhaust fell off of this right before he bought it, and there's some pretty ugly welds on here that I had to grind off just to get the test pipe on there from the new exhaust system. For this kit being a $150 kit off of Amazon, it fits really well. And this is just a small clip of seeing how it fits lightly with some jack stands holding up the exhaust at the front and the back. The kit comes with this little extension pipe here that you can cut to length depending on your application. I cut about 2.5 to 3 inches for my application and it turned out perfect. This kit required no welding, but as you can see, I gave it a few ugga-duggas with the hammer to get it on there snug, and it is on there tight. I was really happy with this kit. It came with a couple exhaust clamps and a few universal exhaust hangers, which I only ended up using one of them, mostly because I couldn't get the other bolt off for the second location, but it worked out anyways and it held up the strength and it has pretty good rigidity throughout the entire exhaust system. Now that the full exhaust kit was installed, it was time to install the rough country intake kit. Keep in mind, I had this kit on the Jeep beforehand, but I had gotten it from a Jeep in a junkyard that was exposed to the weather, so all of the plastics and rubber was pretty brittle and fragile from sitting out in the weather, and that contributed to the hoses breaking and causing an air leak, which gave me so many problems on this Jeep. So I went ahead and ordered this brand new kit. It was actually cheaper, and I couldn't even find a stock kit anywhere. Now that the exhaust is completely installed, as well as the intake, they were both a very straightforward install, so let's see what they sound like. And you can actually hear the intake now with the quieter exhaust. Here, take a listen. Now that the intake and the exhaust are installed, let's move our attention over to the motor mounts. For those curious, I held the engine up by a chain wrapped around the intake manifold and it did great. The timeline is a little bit off here as I had to take off the intake to get to it, but these are the brand new Brown Dog motor mounts. I heard a lot of really good praise online about these because they're a good mix between daily driving and weekend warrior off-roading. These are not cheap, but you get what you pay for, and I'm really curious to see how these do off-road because they do great on-road, but we'll get to that. Every time I go off-roading, there's been a very loud clunking noise, and I haven't been able to track down what it was. Until now. Boy, what we find under this driver's side motor mount is a surprise. Oh. Just for reference, here's our stock motor mount that was very much not in good shape anymore, right next to our Brown Dog motor mount, which is in good shape. As you can see, one of these things is not like the other, and that explains perfectly why I've been having that loud clunking noise every time I hit the gas, even when I'm not off-road. Look at how awful this is. There's so much room in there, and there's no more rubber to even hold that bolt in place. Installing the driver's side motor mount proved to be quite the task, and I needed Luke's help here because I definitely would not have been able to do it by myself. I had to be under the Jeep, cranking on the motor mount itself that's on the frame with a crowbar, while Luke was able to drop the motor down into this slot. The passenger side install went a lot smoother, but the real challenge was trying to figure out how to lift up the engine with the engine hoist. And we ended up doing this really sketchy redneck lift where we wrapped a tie down underneath the alternator bracket and then tied it to itself on top of the engine hoist. I do not recommend this, but it did work, and we were able to hoist the engine up just enough to get that bolt out, the mount out, the new mount in, and the bolt in. So I've been driving the Jeep around for a little while now that we got all of the stuff installed, and I gotta say it's a huge improvement. The motor mounts are probably, well, between the motor mounts and the exhaust, they're both equally as impressive in terms of the results. It is very, very quiet in here compared to how it was before. This is like foot on the floor, which is vastly different from how it was before. The motor mounts have made a huge improvement as well. There is no longer any awful noises when I start out, and that's really the worst of it, was when I would come from, or I'd start out from a stop. There was a loud banging noise in the front, and that happened a lot while I was out in Moab on different inclines. I would go up a hill and there would be a loud clunking noise, and even when I'm sitting at idle, there is a really loud rattling noise, and that is completely gone. These motor mounts are worth every penny. I have to be honest. They have significantly improved the ride quality of this Jeep. This is a completely different Jeep. It rides totally different. That being said, there is a lot of noises coming from the engine bay, and that were masked by the exhaust and the rattling before. So there's still plenty of things to do to this Jeep, but with these 3 improvements, I think we're in pretty good shape. The only thing I have left to do is replace the battery, but we should be pretty good to hit Moab here in the next couple of weeks. So with all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. I know this video's been a little late, but you know, better late than never, right? So thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you would like to see more, then feel free to subscribe. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.